I thought, what the heck? Hey, Robert. So, yeah, that's right. I opened up my StreamYard and you're supposed to write a description. And I says, okay, well, the description says, say something about the podcast. I said, okay, well, that's a good title. Jack Wagons. Hi, Tim Sweeney. Now make sure y'all get that Brave browser. If you ain't got ad blockers yet, make sure you get that Brave browser. It's free and it blocks all your ads. And robotic. Yeah, it's my weather. We'll try this here. I'm double version on you right now. So anyway, is this any better? I'm going to reboot my phone. I'll be right back, but you can still hear me here. Okay, try that. Let's see here. Wind is blowing like a hell there. Yeah, it's been cold, wet, and rainy here today. Oh, I made a hate video on Steve. I did? Huh. You have to tell me about it sometime there, Tim. I don't know of any, but okay. I'll take your word for it. Let's see here. Okay, did audio any better there now? How's that working? Still getting still getting some lag, or is it still roboting? Sounds good now. Okay, yeah, I rebooted the phone. Yeah, we could do that, Tim. Hey, Kim Pie. Oh, yeah, Robert, I got into the live stream this morning just in time for. Oh, you mean on my channel? Oh, you didn't miss nothing. We had a good chat on there. No, nobody got wound up this morning. No, the ones that get wound up, they don't come over here to my chat, and that's just as well. I just assume they don't. I don't need them kids, the YouTube snowflakes over here. You get their feelings hurt. Ain't that right, guys? If you get your feelings hurt that easy, stay away. Oh, sea green something. Sea green something? This is the type of title names that I come up with that when I can't think of anything. Yeah, they sure do, Tim. That's right, Robert. We are. We're just bullies. Something about this broadcast. There you go. Thank you, Junkyard. There, I said it. Now, do you have two chat windows, Robert? Because I could probably stream if you guys aren't getting the YouTube chat, I could stream that over to the up on the screen so you guys could read it on the D Live side. Yeah, that happens, Tim. Man, I tell you what, it's been a wet, cold, nasty one all day today. You've been caught there, Tim. But Kim, it's true. Hey Kim, did you get subscribed to Iron Dogs? You got on his D Live, click the subscription there. Yeah, classic pork, tender pork, chops, and pan fried green beans. Oh man, yum yum. Hello, J.R. Wild. You might go ahead and grab Roberts there too. He likes things on occasion. That dirty Robert Slade, Kim. He likes things from time to time. If you want to grab his with gravy, oh boy. Hello, Deidre. Oh man, I tell you what, Junkyard, I love fried green beans. I'm gonna fry up some green beans, and I like to fry green beans with beef, with chipped beef. Put it on a bed of rice, smother it with some peach habanero sauce and some soy sauce. Oh boy. Oh. Yeah, bad DJ. I mean, when I fry the green beans, I'll like blanch them first of all. Like if you buy frozen string beans, they're already blanched. But if you get fresh string beans, blanch them first. Don't thoroughly cook them, and then I throw them in the frying pan and just scorch them hot. I mean, don't. I cook it at a high heat and quick and cook it quick and get them out of there so they don't get all lumpy and stuff. I would have said that they were pissed off. They were shaking their head in amazement that people could fall for that type of stuff. They're Hey, Dave. Yeah, some people do grease and bacon. I mean, I don't eat bacon, but I'm sure that would be really good. Oh, when yawning. Yeah, still wet and cold here too, junkyard. Supposed to be drier tomorrow. I'm thinking what I'm gonna do. Trying to get this new phone working all day. I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put my SIM card in it and let my daughter take my phone. I'll use that phone for a day or two until I get her bugs worked on out. 33 there at Kim's. Yeah, it got up to about 49 or 50 today, but man, it was chilly. Wet, nasty, cold, rainy. G5 is conservative. That's right. Okay, Deidre. Oh, it hasn't stopped raining here all day. I mean, it hasn't been a hard rain here, junkyard, but it's been a light rain constantly ever since I got up this morning, and it's and a cold one. And I have a feeling there's areas up in Portland, the higher elevations in Portland. I have a feeling it was probably freezing rains. Not even a tenth of an inch. Yeah, yeah. We probably got maybe a quarter of an inch today at the most. I mean, like I said, it was light, really light, but it was cold. We haven't had much wind here today, Tim. It's just been just nasty cold. Maybe a very light breeze, but just cold set on in, man. It was cold enough. I didn't want to be outside today. Speaking of outside, now I got to go outside and smoke a cigarette. Hang on, I wish I could get this. Hurry up and quit smoking. Had to wear your stocking cap at work today? Yeah. Well, I tell you what, even though I kept it fairly warm in the house, I had to wear my bibbed overalls today. My insulated Carhartts, even inside. Because here in the living room it's nice and warm, but you go over to the other end of the house, it's freaking ice cold back there. The heat doesn't, we don't have the forced air throughout the house. Speaking of which, going back outside, I want to put them back on again. I just taken them off a little bit ago. I thought I was done going outside. I need that. Got my wood shed on out for my little shed on out here. I need to buy one of those or make one of those wall mount mini wood stoves so I could have a fire going on out there. Oh well. Okay. You hit the pause button. Well, you crapped and showered, and now you have to find the dog so you can shave. Am I seeing that right? The dog. I'm missing something there, Robert. What is that? Oh, the cat. Oh, okay, I got you. I got it now. Don't forget the milk. You got to have the cat and the milk to be able to shave. So, just out of curiosity, how many of you are come to my live streams, or or anybody's live streams? How many of you are using cell phones, and how many of you are on computers? The reason why I ask is because I'm going to be streaming more and more onto Rumble, and currently using a cell phone to chat with on Rumble doesn't work very well. You're on your iPad. Yeah, I don't know how that would work on Rumble. Mainly your phone. That's going to be the drawback of using that Rumble, I think. Yeah, it doesn't get near the watch time over there on Rumble, does it, Dave? But that's okay. I don't mind that. Well, what I'll continue doing is I'll continue when I'm live streaming on the Rumble. I'll also live stream this onto D Live, so those of you with the phone can still be able to chat, and then I can screen share the chat from the Rumble side where you guys will be able to read the chat with the phones. You won't have to bounce back and forth. I mean, for a little while, I plan on getting streaming to D Live, Rumble, and YouTube all three at the same time. until I get a few. Then I'm going to drop out YouTube off again. But before I completely drop off YouTube, I got to know that Rumble is going to be able to not necessarily draw the crowds, but have the pleasant experience that YouTube does provide on the chat functions for everything to use it. I think Junkyard he mainly uses his phone. It sounds like, but I'm not sure. Man, I'm really kind of bummed out still, even though they closed down a long time ago. I thought that Phoenix was going to be really good. Uh, Dave, you got to drop a comment on one of my videos so I can find you on Rumble, so I can hit your chat. I don't know if I'm subscribed to you on Rumble. Yeah, Phoenix was really cool. I just would. I mean, unfortunately, they couldn't make a go at it. It wasn't financially stable for him. It was taking too much of his time away from his job and different stuff, his real income. So he had to shut that down. Yeah, the thing on Rumble, it's harder finding the channels that I want to watch on Rumble. The type of channels, the type of stuff that I want to watch over there. It is kind of nice. Sometimes it gets overbearing, but the suggested videos, they do a lot better job on suggesting videos that you like to watch over here on YouTube. But I figure if I'm persistent with the Rumble, eventually I'll have it down where there'll be plenty of good content for me to watch over there. I hate supporting the YouTube snowflake algorithm. And I'll be damned if I want to sell my soul out for growth, for YouTube growth. Hell, since I stopped putting videos up over here, I've only lost like 90 subscribers, 90 or 100 subscribers. That surprised me. I thought I would have lost it over 1,000 subscribers by now. I hate everything and everybody. My wife is mean. I came home from work. She has to leave, so she takes my car and tells me to take hers down and get her some gas. To get my phone to get back out here. Okay, hon. And I'm not where I want to be on camera. Well, I'm not on camera. I don't have the camera on. They can't you see you running around out here naked.
I'm not naked. I have to go put the chickens away.
You should have some of your troll accounts. There you go. You should. I'd be down to like what, 150, 200 subscribers. It take you 2.5 weeks to unsubscribe all of them, Robert. D sub, yeah. Yeah, Sandra was the first one I desubbed. That was funny. Is that even a word? I just can't figure why anybody would unsubscribe from Sandra. She's funnier than shit. I don't. She's full of so much humor. It don't cost you anything. Oh, that's because they're over on the D Live side chatting. You're the only one I see over here on the YouTube side chatting right now. Robert and Tim are over on the other side chatting on the D Live side. There's Kim. He's here. He's on both sides, but he's not chatting much. He's back sitting in the background snickering that he pissed everybody off on Waterbug's channel. Kim, I didn't know that you could be as almost as evil as me. Jeez, man, you got it in you, Kim. You did good. No, you didn't back down. Well, Tim, I'm going to agree with you. Biden is a boob. There's James. And you can't print them lemons. Thank you for the ice cream there, Robert. Appreciate that. Yes, we do, Tim. We most certainly do. That would be great. Unfortunately, I don't think America is fixable. We got half the population that wants like a monarchy or something. They want government to to give them the life that they want. That it's owed them. Everybody, either you're owed a free ride, or you're owed a good job, or just all the different. Nobody wants to work for nobody wants to work for it anymore. Yeah, you can have your color, any color of buggy that you want, as long as it's black. That's right, Kim. Oh, the Amish are gray buggies. Mennonites are black. I thought it was just the opposite of that. Yeah, president from outer space isn't working out because that's where our president's from. By the way, Kim, as far as the Mexicans, I haven't read anything about them cutting down the fence, and scrapping the iron. Well, it's possible. I don't. I'm not saying that that's true or not, but I will agree that the border fence is not the answer. It's all those freaking invitations that Joe Biden and Kamala Harris are given to say, come on up, we'll give you free welfare, we'll set you in an apartment, we'll set you in a place. Come, all illegals are welcome. As long as we keep on sending those invitations, and that's why all these invitations that Kim Feige is giving on out there in the Democratic Party, Joe Biden, in the Democrat Party, is sitting for all these illegal immigrants. That's why we're getting flooded. Under Donald Trump, the invitation was not there for all these guys to come on up here. They knew that they weren't going to get the free ride and stuff, and that's why we're getting flooded by the illegal immigrants. And so that's the one part that I agree that the I don't think that the border fence was the big detriment. I don't think that's what slowed down the immigration. I think what it was saying, hey, you coming on up here, you're going to have to sit on the other side before you come in the United States, before you get approved on in. We're not going to let you just have a free ride on in. You cross that line, we're sending you back, and you ain't coming on in. You ain't getting these free rides.
So I really think it's about policy. It's not even so much about the border fence, it's about policy. And I tell you what, those Joe Biden cages are really full now. You know, they were talking about the Trump cages. Well, I tell you what, Joe Biden's got them overfilled. By far more kids in cages now. Yeah, I hate that when it happens, Dave. And I usually click save on this device, my passwords. Yeah, Obama was the one that built the cages. Obama built the cages. He filled them on up. Trump was able to empty the cages because of policy. He was able to empty out those cages, and now they're back overflowing again. And it took no time at all. As soon as Biden became president, man, they started. As soon as there was even a thought that Biden was going to win, man, they just started packing the borders. Yeah, yeah, that's another thing. You know, Biden is taking all those illegal immigrants, not requiring that they have vaccines and stuff. Yet he was going to demand that the American workers have vaccines. But the illegal immigrants, well, you can come up here. You don't have to be vaccinated, and we'll distribute you across the United States. I mean, the mentality there of the Biden administration is just really stupid. I don't understand how people are blind to it and not seeing what's going on. But well, I guess a person only sees what they want to see. Yeah, they won't even the Democrats won't even go look at the Biden cages. They won't even acknowledge it exists. They're acting like it's not there. Well, if we ignore it long enough, maybe it will go away. But that's what he's done with everything. Building a cage for your oldest son. And now I think it's really funny that Biden was they were all pushing tax the wealthy and stuff like that. Now Biden's happened to give the wealthy bigger tax breaks. And the funny thing about that is now they're saying we have to give the wealthy bigger tax breaks, and it's all Trump's fault. Say what? Say what? How is it Trump's fault that the Democrats now have to give the wealthy a bigger tax break? I mean, what is the thought process on that? I mean, where do they come up with their thought process? I'm kind of like getting out of Afghanistan. You know what? I mean, by the way, they keep on saying that was Trump's date that he said. No, that was not the date that Trump set. That was the date that Biden set. Trump wasn't so stupid as to set a date until he had exact figures and had them eaten out of the palm of his hand, and they were doing that. And it was they were fading on out of there. And then Biden gets on in there, and man, I don't know how many Americans are still over there. But they pretty much quit covering that. We don't even know what's happening in Afghanistan now. The press won't cover it. Can't make look. The press can't be involved in making Joe Biden look bad. Let's go, Brandon. Hell yeah.
I'll get that other bird in.
Don't worry about that one up in the tree. I'm not even going to worry about that one anymore. It's too much of a hassle.
I've been doing it every. Now, you're right. What's this? What's this talking here? The dog must have been into.
Cocking?
Yeah.
I don't know. Don't worry about it.
Ground.
Well, it's too late now. It's junk. It's garbage now.
I know, but I still.
Oh, that one was junk anyway. It was
I
already
just don't
hard.
want it doing it.
Okay. You got that right, Tim.
Where is the dog?
She's inside.
Oh.
You got that right. I'm glad Jimmy got to see that he's no longer the worst president ever. Yeah, well, Portland and Seattle, San Francisco, those big cities like that are prime examples of why democratic policies do not work. I mean, if you don't try something different, if you keep on doing the same thing and it still keeps on failing you, why do you keep on trying to do the same stuff that fails over and over and over? Why not try something different? Defund the police. Yeah, right. Now they're trying to say, oh no, we weren't about defunding the police. Yeah, bullshit. They were all over the press supporting defund the police, and now they're backstabbing and they won't even admit that they were saying that the Democrats were all for defunding the police. Now they're back. Oh no, I wasn't for defunding the police. Stay at home. Wear your mask. Yeah. Boy, those Democrats sure did want that Rittenhouse. They sure wanted to find him to be found guilty, didn't they? Just like the Democrats wanted that. What was that one kid that they wanted to find guilty that was supposedly taunting the Indian when he wasn't? But I am slowly starting to change my mind about gun rights. I'm really thinking that it should be a right, but it shouldn't necessarily be a right. And where I'm going with that is when you have Democrats such as Alec Baldwin with a firearm, that guy should never even be allowed with a cap gun. How you tennis shoes? Alec Baldwin shouldn't even be trusted with a cap gun. So and I think that's typical of most of your Democrats. I'm gonna suggest that I do believe that all Democrats should be required to surrender their firearms because I don't think they know how to handle firearms. And I can see why they want firearms taken away because they can't handle them themselves. I mean, Alec Baldwin can't even be trusted with a cap gun. And that's pretty bad. And then he's trying to say, well, I didn't pull the trigger. Well, you know what? Those old six-shot revolvers, whether it's single action or double action, either way, they don't fire unless you have the trigger squeezed. That sucker will not fire unless you have your finger on the trigger and it's squeezed. And I don't care if you're fanning it or pulling the trigger. That trigger has to be squeezed. And he's saying he didn't pull the trigger. I mean, he's more worried about his image than he is about what he did. I mean, if he had a sat up there and give a sob story, yeah, I did something stupid, it was my fault. I could forgive him for what happened. Um, shit does happen. Even though he was at fault, like I would still have empathy for him. But when he gets on up there and he says, "Oh, I didn't pull the trigger. It's not my fault. I don't feel any guilt in it. I had no part in it." He that guy needs to go to jail. Democrats can't be trusted with firearms. They can't even be trusted with a cap gun. Now that Rittenhouse, yeah, he can be trusted with a gun. He didn't have random bullets just going every which way. He knew where those bullets were going. He hit his targets. And he was just a kid. It's the same difference, James. All I know is these clowns in Washington, D.C. are trying to break this nation. And they're trying their hardest to break this nation. Because if they can break this nation mentally, even, especially mentally, if they can break this nation, then that can give the cause, that gives the reason for government to take full control of our lives. And that's what they want. They want full control over us. And they're doing it. Yeah, I seen that, Dave. You say Chris Como got fired? Chris Homo Como. Dino is a Republican saying he is a Dem just so he can bail out the rich. Well, either way, we have to face the reality. Both the Republican Party and the Democratic Party. It's not about us. It's not about we the people. It's about the corporate America on both sides of the aisle. They all have their favorites that they pad their pockets with and everything else. It's about making both sides is about making the corporate world stronger and stronger and stronger, and not making the people stronger and stronger and stronger, making us become dependent. It used to be that Americans were dependent on their own powers. Whether even if they got a job, they also did side jobs at their own at homes. Most of America was self-employed. Now, very little of America is self-employed. We're all dependent on government and on big corporate world for our economy, and this nation is being destroyed because of the corporate world. The corporate world is a big part of the problem of creating dependency on government and on somebody else other than ourselves. I don't care.
You need to go out.
Yep, about protected checks. It's just like George W. Bush, when he was leaving office and they had that crunch, with the banks and stuff, did all the bank bailouts and stuff. Too big to fail, and the auto companies and stuff. He started that whole corporate bailout, and then Obama finished it. Should have let those big corporations just fail. Should have let them go bankrupt. Yes, it would have hurt our economy, but we would have recovered in a whole lot better shape without them than we are now. And it was the Republicans that started that corporate bailout thing. Yeah, I mean, we can blame Obama for the majority of it, but it was George W. Bush and the Republican Party that started that whole deal. James, I really don't think that the Second Amendment, us having firearms, doesn't make us really any safer against government. I mean, the government has so much technology that there ain't no way, I mean, there ain't no way that we can defend ourselves against the tyranny from the government with our firearms. The only thing that firearms does is it protects us from the Antifa groups and the robbers and stuff like that. But it doesn't protect us against our government anymore. We've already been sold out of that. So I don't think that that's what it is. I think that the firearm is just a distraction. But they do want to take away freedom of speech, and that is the Second Amendment is just a distraction of taking away the First Amendment. And taking away, for social media to be banishing the Trump, the president of the United States, off of social media, that is the invasion of freedom of speech. That was they were definitely breaking the Constitution on that. Do I got it backwards? The Second Amendment is the right to bear arms. The First Amendment was the freedom of speech, wasn't it? Or do I have that backwards? I'm getting old and senile, so I do get things twisted around and backwards. Oh, bearing arms to talk. Okay, yeah. I mean, at one time, the Second Amendment did protect the First Amendment, with the people, but not anymore. Not the way the military is anymore. I support the right to arm bears. I agree, Tim. Arm the bear. Well, I'm not going to get into that conversation there, DJ. Um, I do respect people's opinions on why they do. I might not understand it all, but I'm not going to get into a game of attacking their, them being a man, what kind of a man they are. I know a lot of really good Democrats, put it that way, that are good men. I will attack the policies of the Democrats, but the man themselves, no. Yeah, gun license is a privilege. You're right about that. Just like the same with driving. I mean, put it this way, DJ. I know a lot of Republicans or conservatives that I wouldn't trust them any further than I could throw them. I think the Republicans are, we want to say Democrats are evil and vile and stuff. Well, you know what? The Republicans are just as evil and vile. Let's face it. Man is evil and vile, self-serving. So I mean, if a person believes in their heart wholeheartedly, then all the more power to them. I got to respect a person's belief. Doesn't mean I'm going to go along with it, but I do respect if a person really believes what they believe. I do got to respect that part of it, even if they're wrong. I hear you. Okay, I got you, DJ. Yeah, you're right. You're right there. I was kind of reading that as a Democrat, so you got me on that. Yeah, it says we had a right to bear arms, and James, I go a step further on that part. I believe it doesn't define. Back then, a Gatling gun was considered a weapon of mass destruction, and there was no restrictions on who could buy a Gatling gun. Anybody could own a Gatling gun, and you can still buy a Gatling gun to this day. Back in those days, a Gatling gun was considered a weapon of mass destruction. Okay, so was a cannon. But if you had the money to buy one, you could own one. Um, Therefore, that's where I'm saying is I think any weapon that is to be made, for the right to bear arms in a militia, that would mean that if I can afford to buy a fighter jet, all the fully automatic rifles, just whatever. I think the Second Amendment covers it all. That's just my belief. But I am glad that we don't have a bunch of yahoos running around with all these weapons on the other hand, too. But DJ, the type of a person that I see would vote for Brandon, Joe Biden, would be somebody that believes that government is the solution to the problems of America. And that's where a lot of Democrats stand. Is they stand to the point where the solution to our problems is through the government, not realizing that the government is what created the problems. So we're going to try to have those that created the problems fix the problems that they created. That's where I have a problem with that. But I think our biggest nightmare is not the people, it's the media. Okay, I'm going to give an example. Most Democrats that I know do not support late-term abortion, using abortion for birth control. Most Democrats that I know would say, hey, you know what, after 2, 3, 4 months, they should not be allowed except for under a doctor's high recommendation for the health of the mother has to have this abortion. Most Democrats would say, no, it shouldn't be allowed. But the media will not allow that conversation to even take place. They won't even allow that. I mean, you never hear them talk about that. When a Republican says, hey, you know what, I do support abortion in these cases, but no, you won't hear that. It's got to be all the way or not at all. And so that's how the media is presenting it. It's the same with the firearms. Yeah, we do need something to try to curb keeping the hands out of the guns out of bad people's hands. I mean, there needs to be a tool. That doesn't mean you got to take the firearms from everybody's hands, but there needs to be some discussion on that. But they're not letting us have that discussion of, okay, how can we do this without removing the firearms from the people's hands, yet take it from, when we know that a person's a bad person, we're not going to, they can't have them. It's the same with how are we going to keep the what was that other one? There's several of them where they just won't allow. They just the media does not want us to have a responsible conversation of addressing, like, the police departments. Police brutality is real. Okay, the police brutality is real. Things happen. The police bully their way through. They do stuff that is completely unconstitutional. They do all sorts of stuff, and that has to be fixed. So as long as we're not having a conversation of saying, of recognizing there is a problem here, then you got a bunch of nut jobs on one side. Hey, you know what? Leave the police alone. Give them more money. Let them do whatever they got to do. And then you have the other side saying, wait a second. I got friends that got their ass beat by the cops for no just cause. But for some reason, we don't want to have these conversations. Shut up, Brenda. Had to do that. But and the conversations are not being allowed to be had. The school teachers, what the school teachers are doing, getting rid of, to get rid of a bad school teacher, you can't do it. These are government employees that we're talking about, and we can't even have a conversation of, okay, what's it going to take to fix this problem? No, we don't want to talk about how to fix these problems. Their answer is, well, throw them more money. Well, throw everybody more money. You can get back.
What's going on?
Brenda, shut up!
What's wrong with that dog?
Oh, she's barking at something over there.
What's wrong with Kitty?
Nothing much. But the media is doing a pretty good job of curbing the speech, so we don't have those type of conversations in those manners. And anybody that does come on out and say anything, they're labeled as a radical or racist. Hey, you know that Candace Owens she's a white supremacist. Did y'all know that? Candace Owens is a white supremacist and a member of the KKK. So is Ben Carson. He's also a member of the KKK and the white supremacists. They hate black people. Well, until we shit can the press, until we start holding the press liable, these lawsuits like this Rittenhouse, he's going to make a big chunk of money. And that kid there that a few years back that won several $1 million in a lawsuit against CNN and them. These lawsuits are not large enough. Those CNN, NBC, CBS, they are so big that they have to dole out $100 million and spend $150, $200 million on representation, etc. That don't matter. They made by far more money than that off the stories. I mean, what they should do is say, okay, on every single episode that you guys talk about that, all the ad revenue that you guys got goes to these people. On top of it, you have to pay an additional $150 million. You got to make it hurt. But the amount of money that there's, and yeah, it seems like a big, large amount that they're winning, that they're being awarded. But still, when you consider the size of the platforms that they're suing, they're snickering. They don't care if they lose that lawsuit. They could care less. They made by far more money off of that story. It's all about the money, and I think it's not just about money. I think it's also about power. There's a power grab that's going on to transform America. Brenda, shut up. I'm gonna have to spank that girl. Yep, that's what it says. See what social media is what the media is doing. They take a story like George Floyd, and they don't put the whole story out. So you only hear with the story that they put on out there, that the media puts on out there, and they paint the emotions and they get the people to sway their emotions, and the way they want it to sway. They don't give you the full account. And they've been doing this for years. Y'all remember the story about that gal that went to McDonald's, got a cup of coffee, and she spilled the coffee on her cooter, and she was awarded millions of dollars. Y'all want to know the real story of what happened there with that girl that spilled the cooter, the oil on her, the coffee on her cooter, and got awarded all that money? I can tell you the real story, what happened, what the real settlement kind of was. What happened there was she wasn't even driving. She was in the passenger seat. She was like 79 years of age at the time. Her son was driving. They pulled at a drive-through McDonald's, ordered a cup of coffee. They were parked. They were parked. When she opened that cup of coffee, they were not driving. And when she went to pull that tab off, the cap popped off and it spilled on her lap, which that can happen. And the thing is, the coffee was served at a temperature of 190 degrees. Even at that time, restaurants did not serve their coffees in regular restaurants. They didn't serve their coffee over the temperatures of 150 degrees because they knew that it could, cause major burns. So the restaurants were serving their coffee where you're sitting at a table at 150 degrees. Here they're serving it in a car where it can be spilled on a person's lap at 190 degrees. She got third-degree burns on her cooters, had to have a whole bunch of skin grafts, was in the hospital for a week, and she was in recovery for about 3 months afterwards. Her daughter quit her job to take care of her mom during that time. Okay, now the old lady, when it was all said and done, she went to McDonald's and said, "Look, all I want from you is to pay me $20,000 to cover my medical bills. I'm not asking for anything else. I just want you to cover my medical bills." McDonald's said, "Hell no, take us to court." So she did. They sued, they won for millions, and the judge ended up the McDonald's appealed it, and said it was too high of a reward. The judge agreed and reduced it down to $800,000. And then McDonald's appealed the $800,000, and they settled it. The old lady and McDonald's ended up settling for an undisclosed amount. But all she had asked for was $20,000. It wasn't about the money. And you think about it, it's something that's hot enough to give you third-degree burns, or you have to get skin grafts on your private area. I would say that the jury was right in their findings. But we look at it as, well, you shouldn't have put spilled hot coffee in your lap, and we made fun of her and stuff like that. Well, it was talking points, but the real story is you would have been pissed off too. Yep, some people are having the government ban them to take care of their own family members. Well, that's what SSI is all about. So single moms can stay at home and take care of their own kids, if they chose to have. People don't want to take responsibility for their own actions. They want government to bail them one out for their mistakes. No, SSI wasn't a loan that we paid into. SSI isn't Social Security. That's welfare. That's not when you work and you pay 12.4% interest, 12.4% tax for Social Security and Medicaid. That does not go into the SSI fund. That's a separate. That comes, the SSI comes out of your regular income tax. It's a part of the budget on that part of it. Your Social Security tax is completely separate. Your regular Social Security. SSDI comes from your regular Social Security. That's covered by your 12.4%. Now I say 12.4% because I was self-employed, so I had to pay the full amount. If you're an employee, you only have to pay half that amount. But SSI, that's not taxed to the Social Security. Collected for a whole year. Yeah, but he collected a regular Social Security. If he was working 80 hours a week. Thank you, LED and Spencer. I appreciate that. No, SSGI is not SSI. That's two different deals. SSDI you pay in for. That's earned disability income. SSI is not earned. No, that's not a live view, Spencer. That's this picture I took 2 or 3 weeks ago. That was actually taken in the morning. Right now it's evening. It's after dark here now. But that was a morning picture just before the sun started coming on up. Yeah, you're right, James. Some people they're collecting it off of what their parents paid on in. But when they collect, my daughter gets $50 a month from Social Security disability based on my income, and I don't support that. I really don't think that should be there. I tried to block that, but they wouldn't let me block it. I don't believe that Social Security, Social Security that's earned should only be payable to the individual and their spouse or their ex-spouse. I do support ex-spouses being able to attach, Social Security to regular Social Security and Social Security disability. I do support that part of it, but I don't think the kids should be entitled to any part of Social Security at all on SSD or regular SS. But SSI is, I mean, it doesn't matter if nobody in your family has ever worked. If you can qualify, you qualify and get SSI. It has nothing to do about work. But SSD, now somebody has had to work for you to qualify to get that money. Well, no, they aren't collecting it from people like your father-in-law. Your father-in-law may have kids. Put it this way: Your father-in-law's nieces and nephews could not collect SSD off of your father-in-law. Okay, it has to be your spouse or your kids. Not even your grandkids can collect SSD off of you, unless unless you were raising your grandkids and like they were your own, and the parents were on the picture or whatever. I mean, there's a deal on that too. But SSD, that's not an open fund. I mean, that's have to have a parent that worked for it. Yeah, on SSD, it does have to be their parents. SSI doesn't have to be. That's up to completely different. Right, James. But here's the deal: on SSI, if you don't work, you don't have any income. They have a format on how much money that you qualify to make on SSI. On SSD, it doesn't matter how much money that you made or how much money you have coming in right now. The SSD is a locked fund based on what was paid in for that. So there is a difference. And it comes from two completely different funds. Now, unfortunately, what they plan on doing is when Social Security funds goes broke and they can't pay out what they owe on Social Security, they'll just dismantle that and put everybody on SSI. They won't break SSI. They'll only break Social Security, but not SSI. They won't break the government welfare check because that keeps people dependent. That's something that you don't earn, and that's just a gift. You do a stir fry. Right, but SSD is earned. You can't get SSD unless somebody in your family earned it for you. SSI is a gift from anybody. I mean, you don't have, put it this way. If when I broke my back, I don't remember what it was that I qualified back then. I wasn't supposed to ever work again when I broke my back. And Social Security, I had only been working for a year or two. And I was only going to get like $30, $40 a month on Social Security disability. That's all I'd paid on into the system. That's all I could get. And SSI was going to pay me $300 or $400 a month is what SSI would pay. Now that wasn't something that I'd earned. I hadn't earned SSI. It was SSI was just a gift, but the Social Security disability was something that I worked for that I earned. Okay, but I would have gotten about $30, $40 a month back then. I don't remember how much it was, but I would have gotten both. I would have gotten SSI because the SSD I had not paid in enough to get to earn a living wage or whatever. So they make up with it with the SSI. Um, Years later now that I've been working, I worked my 40 quarters and I only end up getting $850 a month because I had so many tax write-offs with my daughter's doctor bills on hers that my income showed super low, even though I was making good money. I had so many tax write-offs that I didn't have to pay near as much into the Social Security. But anyway, my my disability now is $850 a month is what I get on Social Security disability insurance. I don't qualify for SSI. I don't get any money on SSI. I get all SSDI. But that's based on how much I paid on into it. Now I'm going to take it one step further. I'm going to take Iron Dog 63 for instance. Now he was making $100,000 a year, and he paid good money. So I don't know how much he's making off Social Security disability insurance, but he's making a lot more because he paid a lot more into the system. Okay, and that's the difference. So SSI, everybody gets exactly the same amount based on their income, whereas SSDI, it doesn't matter what. Once you get on it, it does. Now that I'm on SSDI, if I had an income of $10,000 a month, they would not reduce my $850 a month check. I would still continue getting $850 a month. It doesn't matter what my income is now. I'm not restricted on income. If I'm on SSI, if my income goes up, then my SSI would drop. Yeah, or with terrorism. Yep. Give me a second. I got to water the flowers out here. Well, either way, they're bound and determined to break the whole system. It's all about breaking the system and making people be independent on government. If the government has the control of the people, then they have full control. Well, I agree, James. I remember back in the day when I was working construction as a young man, all I had to do is throw my nail bags over my shoulders, walk on a job site, ask, "Are you hiring?" It was either yes or no. And at the end of the day, if they'd like to, if they said, "Yeah, we're hiring," at the end of the day, if they liked you, they said, "Come back tomorrow." If they didn't like you, they'd say, "Here's your check. Don't bother coming on back." You know, now the government is getting so much control on in there, they can't just hire you off the street anymore. It got to the point where in the last several years that I had rent employees, I had to take 3 sources of ID. I had to have a photocopy. If I was going to employ you, I had to have a photocopy of your Social Security card and of your driver's license. I had to have those two things. in order to employ you. If I didn't have those two things on you, the government could come after. Now, did I ever get audited and have then verify that I had that and all that stuff? No, I never got. They never did audit me for that, but they could have. Oh, I hate unions, James, with a passion. I think the unions are just as bad as the corporate world. You know, I do not like unions. I suppose if a person is a union worker making $30 an hour, whatever, when everybody else in their field's only making 15, and you're the union guy, then of course the most union guys are going to like the union because of the income. They're getting a lot better money. But if you really think about union jobs, what if everybody got that same union pay, skill pay for whatever the jobs? Let's say, okay, so union electricians get $30 an hour. Union plumbers get $28 an hour. Union carpenters get $26 an hour. Um, union McDonald workers flipping burgers, they get $18 an hour. You know, um, if everybody went union, and we didn't have any of the non-union where people were getting paid less money and they didn't have their retirement funds covered and all the different stuff. What if everybody? What would this country be like if everybody had the same benefits as union? What do you think it would be like? They set scale only in a small factor of it. They set union scale. So like when I would bid on state jobs, I had to bid prevailing wage. I had to pay prevailing wage, and it did help raise the scale somewhat, but not a whole lot. But what it did, it created more damage. Let's take the pipeline up in Alaska. When the unions, when the oil companies still went on in there, the people were making 4, 5, $6 an hour. A year later, they were making 20, $22 an hour. So all these other jobs that were only paying 4, 5, $6 an hour, of course they had to jack the pay up, but those businesses couldn't afford it. So did it really raise? All it did was raise the cost of living is all they did ultimately, because back then when the jobs were only paying $4 or $5 an hour up in Alaska, to rent a house was only, $50 a month. It was cheap living up there in Alaska. But all of a sudden, you have these people coming on and they're making, $30, $40 an hour, union scale and stuff like that. And now all of a sudden, rent is $300, $400, $500 a month for the same place. So, yeah, you got those guys that were making $3 or $4 or $5 an hour. Now they're making $10 or $12 an hour. But did you make their life any better? No, you didn't make their life any better. You actually made their life worse. Yeah, they got more money, but their pay did not go up. It's just a part of inflation. It's a way to rob Peter to pay Paul. When you jack somebody else's pay on up, somebody else gets screwed. So do we need scale, James? I mean, personally, I believe in free enterprise, and I don't care. I don't care if you're selling. If me as a carpenter looking for a job, or I'm selling a burger, or what it is. Value is only what you can get. If you can only sell a burger for $3.50, that's all that burger is worth is $3.50. If you can sell that burger for $75, that burger is worth $75. If you can sell yourself to work for only for $2.50, $3 an hour, that's all you're worth. But if you can sell yourself to work for $100 an hour, then that's what you're worth. But not being manipulated by unions and contracts, and making people stay, not being able to work because they're on strike. When it's done through manipulation, I don't agree with it. It's called supply and demand, and I believe strongly in supply and demand. Well, what we need is better border control. I mean, you take all these farmer jobs. They say that people want it. They're saying that people won't do those farming jobs, working out in that hot sun and stuff, for the pay that they can afford to pay. But the reality is, you know what? If they closed down the borders and those farmers had to pay more money, they would pay more money. They'd have to get more for their product. Our groceries would go on up. But when you let it reach its fair balance that way, it will find a living balance. As soon as you have man manipulating it through unions, etc., now you have a union farmer making buku bucks, and the non-union farmer, those guys are struggling to survive. You know, I mean, it's not a balance. It's not working on out for everybody. It's only working out for the few and not for the majority. Let's see here. I think I'm going to go ahead and end the live stream. I got to go ahead and get my soup put on and start heating it on up. And only got a few people on both sides. We'll catch y'all later. Take care. It's fun chatting with you, James. We'll chat some more later. Bye.